The house, the NSU Sharks in the house. I would also like to welcome the future Sharks who are students at the Lauderdale Lakes Middle School. All right. I'd also like to welcome our honored guests. I would call you by name, but there's so many of you in the interest of time, I just have you wave your hand and say, I'm a distinguished guest. Right here. I have the distinct honor of introducing Dr. Chen. And I've been inspired by his accomplishments. As a matter of fact, kids, you should really take some time to read it, because it is just so awesome that I would imagine that at some point HBO is going to make it to an epic movie. And I'm sincere about that. So without further ado, without reading this, Dr. Chen, the inventor, trailblazer, and crusader, the entrepreneur, dedicated teacher, and collaborator with surgeons and peers. He's the son of Jamaica, and an outstanding professional, and now my new friend, Dr. Chen.
Thank you very much. Just thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak in front of anyone who's willing to listen is a real blessing. You know, it's not something you ever take for granted, and so I'm really honored to be here. And I'm so inspired when Jade contacted me and I listened to her story and how she is working with the university to select people of interest to come here and speak. And it's really an honor when I look at the people who have been here before. And I'm sure you're going to have other great successes after me. In putting together this presentation, I really thought of some points that I felt were important for me as I went through my journey growing up in a very small town, a fishing town called Buff Bay in Jamaica. It's a really tiny town. You know, if I tell you how to get there, you're going to drive right through it. But it's amazing, you know, when you're a kid, like here, you just, you know, it's just like a seed. You just don't know until it actually grows. So who knew that I would ever be here? So I'm really grateful. Thank you so much. So, you know, the idea of success is something that, you know, helps propel, you know, all of us forward. You know, all the trappings of success, we allow us to live a better life, a more fruitful life. So I think for the kids, I'm going to speak to you, and I'm going to speak to anyone else in the audience who have achieved and can relate to what I'm doing, and anyone else who's on that verge of, let me see if you know, how can I get to the next level. I'm hoping that there is enough in here for everyone to take away, because I'm going to take away from the experience just being here, and hopefully get some questions that I can answer and be better myself, because that's what I want to do every day. So my perspective on success is just my perspective, and let's start with that. It's really important, I believe, to recognize your true situation, okay? And I go to church on Sundays dressing up to make sure I look and feel good. But that's just clothes that I'm wearing. You know, your true situation is really important that you recognize that. And so when I was a kid growing up, very early I recognized that I was really poor, okay? And I recognized that because my best friend was really rich. So that was obvious. And so once I recognized that, I then started to evaluate the rest of my situation, because you're a kid. I recognized that I also didn't have a dad, no father around. I spent most of my time with my grandmother, my sister and brothers, and my mom. And I recognized that I don't have a big brother like some of the friends, so I couldn't afford to get into fights. And to this day, I really avoid fights, at least physically. And I looked around my physical environment as well, and I recognized that I need to start a journey out of here, not try to stay around. And so what I did was look at also what I did have was my mom. Okay, and a lot of Jamaicans, have that situation like mine. It's actually not something you worry about, it's just what it is. And so my mom was very into how I was gonna get better, more than I wanted to at the time. That was big. So any mom that's here, know the deal. Every mom wants their kid to be better. And so do the dads. I don't want to brag on dads, I have 3 kids. But sometimes it takes us a lot longer to get to that point when you're like in your 50s. And she was great about education. It was very clear. That was the deal. She wasn't impressed with my athletic skills as much as I wanted her to see that. She just wanted me to find a way to have an education and go further than she did. And so I developed big dreams as well. You're watching movies, there are many sources in which you can start dreaming. And one of the things, if I had more time and more space on the PowerPoint, I would talk about is how to this day, I'm constantly thinking about my childhood. It motivates me, it keeps me grounded. There are times that it gets me really, really pumped up, especially, if I feel like someone is not treating me well, I remind myself, wait a minute, this is where you're coming from. You just gotta remember that. So I'm constantly remembering all this stuff, and it keeps me grounded. So I developed a plan as well. The act of planning is actually more important than a plan, right? Most boxers will tell you that, right? You have a plan until you get that first punch. But the act of planning, if you find out that you're planning, good things are gonna happen. Don't be so tied to the plan, right? Someone gives you a plan, oh man, I guess this is how I should go. No, you should always be planning, refining that plan. So that was me growing up. Planning, dreaming, and trying to figure out how I'm gonna get out of here. So it's the beginning of a journey. You start thinking like that. Then when you finally get to a point where you have opportunities, whatever they are, small or big, if someone is going to help you out as a kid, that's an opportunity to know someone, to learn, and see how far you can go with that. So when I was 15 years old, the headmaster of Titchfield High School sat me down and made a deal with me. He heard that I was a really big-time soccer player. But I lived in Buff Bay. You had to take the bus, 30, 40 minutes to get to Port Antonio. The team trains in the afternoon. I got to get my bus back. My mom's not into athletics. She's into me studying. So he heard that there's this great guy that wasn't practicing for the team. So he called me in his office and introduced himself and said to me, so what's the story with you? Everyone's talking about you, but I don't see you out there training. I told him, sorry. Go talk to your mom because I have a deal for you. If you're willing to live with me here in Port Antonio and train, if your mom will go for that. So I said, well, I don't know. I'm 15 years old. So I went back to my mom and told her, man, she jumped all over that. I'm like, are you trying to get me out of here? I was a big troublemaker, but my mom was really tearful, she's like, wow. And so I remember packing my box with my, condensed milk and Milo and all that stuff. It's like everything. I'm Mom, come on, And she packed me up. And that's an opportunity, right? Because you don't know how many of those you're going to get or which one is that trigger. I don't know of anyone who has succeeded who can't point to a couple of those helping hands. I just haven't met anyone like that who's done it all on their own. So that was actually a really pivotal moment. And so I went to live with him, right? And now all of a sudden everything was better. Someone I could sit down and talk to at night. You know, someone who could fill that gap of being a father for me. And I was able to practice. But he also taught me about business at that point as well, because he has a degree in economics, and we used to talk about business. He made a deal with me, and it was a win-win, because we took the team to the national championship, first time in its history. And from there, I was then elected to the national team, and that's how I got seen and got a soccer scholarship to the U.S., right? See the dots start to fall. You don't want to scheme. I'm talking about planning. I'm talking about appreciating opportunities, not scheming, not trying to get around anyone. You don't need to do that. Just be good at what you got. So now, when you get to the opportunity, you got to make full use of that, right? So for all the kids, I came to Columbia, New York City, and what was interesting for me was I got off the airplane at JFK, and we're driving through, and the coach took me through Harlem. And I was like so excited about New York. I'm like, man, this looks like Kingston. I'm like, wait a minute, what after all this shiny building? Guys are hanging out on the side of the street, the same thing. I'm like, wow. So, you know, observing the environment. But then I got to Morning Heights, as you know, the dear pastor's daughter went to Columbia. It changed dramatically. So, but while I was there, immediately, I'm like, okay, now I'm here, time to go to work. Got my first job working in the kitchen, washing dishes. I remember the first time I heard someone from Haiti talk. There were a lot of Haitians in the kitchen with me, and I learned how to wash dishes and all that stuff. It was great. But what was good about it is I had a free meal, and that was the key. So you're always looking around, and so I picked a job that also fed me while I got paid. So kids, look for jobs like that. Be smart. This is real, so I'm glad I can be real with you. But while I was there, I figured it out that, now I'm here, my mom was all about education, I better get that. Soccer got me here, now it's education time. But I had to deal with the university, right? We need to win games, you get an education in return. So it worked, right? So basically, you spend your time trying to do well at everything you do. You never know. So first 2 years, we won the Ivy League championship. And my last year, I was the Ivy League Player of the Year. I felt really bad about that because we didn't win anything. And I'm just not into awards. I'm about winning. But for a long time, it was hard for me to accept that. And after my third year, I decided, what do I want to do? And I realized, electrical engineering, which you have a degree in, was something I wanted to investigate. Because I thought I could get a job doing that. It was sexy, Bell Labs, IBM. I like technology. And so if you're looking around the environment and you're seeing where opportunities are, you go for them. And don't worry about, am I going to be good at this or not? Just, does it look like an opportunity? Roll with it. Life's a journey. It's a long marathon, okay? Everything you can learn from. So I went into electrical engineering and mathematics, and the dream job was Bell Labs. And so I just want to get to Bell Labs or IBM. And at the same time, I wanted to also look at any other opportunity I could find. And student government seemed like something that I want to do. And so I said I'm going to run for class president. Well, the crazy thing about that is we have a newspaper, The Spectator, and I was in it all the time, so I was known as a soccer player. And all of a sudden, I'm going to be running for class president. Now, if anyone's here in politics, once you enter politics, it's a whole new world. There are a lot of guys and girls who came to Columbia already decided they're going to be class president. So they already paid their dues in student government from a freshman. I showed up senior year that I want to be a class president. I'm asking questions more than I'm talking about what I'm going to do. I want to learn on the job. So I remember I said, okay, I'm going to do this. And I figured out it's all about marketing. So I spent a lot of time on a flyer, and I said, what's my strength? I am known for soccer. I wish I had a flyer here, but I made a flyer with me playing soccer. I took a picture from the Spectator, and I said, win with Chen. You need a slogan. Win with Chen, and then I start making friends all over, right? Because people like change. I'm like, okay, these guys have been here since freshman year. I'm brand new. And they're talking about hardcore things. I'm like, I'm going to make senior week the most fun. I'm talking about how much fun we're going to have. At the same time, I'm reading in their real message. It was a landslide. It was a no contest. And so, the senior class president thing was also game changing. Because what happened, kids, everything that you take on is a chance to win. Every time you win, you're building confidence. Winning becomes a habit. It becomes an expectation. It's not home run. Just pick little things. Anything you set your mind to, small or big, every time you're winning, you want to get in the habit of that. So these little things start to build confidence. And so I also remember my coach said to me when I was leaving, make sure you get the paper. I said, what does that mean? You'll know. So that's directly from my coach, get the paper, which means you got to graduate. You got to get, the paper. You got to finish high school. Anything you're doing, get that paper that says, hey, I did it. And so we, I have a list of that stuff on my CV. So after you've made full use of your opportunities, you got to get the experience, right? You got to get the experience. Once I became class president, that wasn't the end. That was the beginning. The first thing I did was I made friends with everyone in student government before. And from there we started working together. And then once I finished all my degrees, I recognized that I needed experience. And you have the choice in what you're going to experience. Okay, you just have to always be looking at your choices, always be proactive. So it's a journey, and you need experience in something to get to the next level. It's not, you don't jump to the top, and so forth. So what you see here are a list of experiences that I could draw on as I go along. Once I went to Wall Street and working at Goldman Sachs for 6 months as a consultant for Arthur Andersen, I would come off the Wall Street stop with my briefcase, my suit, and I saw all these people, and then I walked going to the building. Very quickly I recognized I was nobody. Again, I was starting over. I had all these degrees. I thought I was a senior class president. I thought I was the man. That was done. I was starting back at ground zero. I'll never forget. We worked on a proposal. They told me to go hand it to the partner at American Express. And I went over there, and I went up there, and I went to the secretary and said, oh, just bring it in. And the guy was on the phone, and he was going to finish up. And I'm standing there with this proposal. I was just told to go hand it to him. He's on the phone, and he pointed to the desk, and I put it on the desk, and I'm standing there. He looked up, I'm like, can I do anything for you? Is there anything else you want me to do? And he looked at me and continued the phone. That was it. Because, I just thought, just be a nice guy, and there's nothing I could do for him. He's a busy guy. I was just a freshman. So I still remember that experience. I wish I could see that guy again. I just don't remember who it is. But that experience told me that I'm really nobody here. I need to get my act together. So recognize your true situation, kids. You have to start there. It's okay. Whatever it is, it's just the beginning of your journey. It's not, for anyone to criticize you or whatever they want to do. That's not the point. We all start somewhere, but life's a journey. And so once I got to Wall Street, I recognized that money makes everything possible. Now I'm not saying love money itself, but it makes everything possible. It's a currency. You need it. Recognize that. Now that you recognize that you need money because it makes everything possible, how are you going to get it? Well, here are 3 things to consider. You start with a desire, whatever that is. Just pick a desire. You need that. What do you want to do? And I'm not going to even give you a list because it's really yours. But you have to have that. I know of no kid who doesn't have a desire. My daughter changes every week, but she has one every week. Every now and then it's to be like you, Daddy. Now, after you have a desire to whatever you want to do, to satisfy a need. You know, very happy to meet Pastor Robert. Satisfy some need. If you satisfy a need, you will have money. And money is just the currency that makes things possible. You connected the dots, right? You have to value your time. Your time is limited. You have to make haste. Your time is input. Your time here should count for something. It's counting for me. Every minute, every day. Let's talk about some desires I have. My desire was to be in a position to have financial security. As a poor kid, I'm like, hey, I was happy with my family was poor, but I don't want to be poor again. I need to make a decision that's going to give me financial security. And that's what I did. I went into medicine because last time I checked, you can be self-employed. That was it. The second thing I wanted to do, I wanted to employ people. I think that's a great thing to do, right? Because my mom, depending on her job, we depend on her. That's how the system works, right? Someone depends on you, you depend on someone else. Employing people means that you're contributing to the cycle. So it wasn't any grand plan, just, hey, I didn't know how many people I want to employ. I want to employ as many as I possibly can. But I wanted to do that. I made those decisions. Those were my desires. And I wanted to be in the game. I was always an athlete. I wanted to be a player. I didn't want to be on Wall Street and nobody. But I needed nobodies as well. I just didn't want to be one of those. Okay? And it's not a judgment. It's just, hey, I didn't want to be there. I want to be at the top. And I left New York saying the only time I'm going to come back here is when I think I'm a player. And now that's the case. When I fly to New York and I Uber my Lincoln and I go to a meeting, hey, I used to drive the subway. I know every stop on the subway. Everyone. You know what? 11 years in New York, I know everywhere I can go, that subway goes. So, you guys follow me so far? We okay? All right? Okay, good. The need. Had these desires, now let's satisfy the needs. So I decided that I spent a year at Cigna Insurance in Hartford. Lots of Jamaicans in Hartford, by the way, on Main Street. I had my tailor there. I was at home. I was in, Bloomington. Anyway, so I picked healthcare and technology. Because the last time I checked, we're not robots. We all are patients. Every one of us, including me, at some point, you need a doctor. So I'm like, that's where I'm going. That's why I'm in Florida, by the way. And technology is always changing. Always changing. There's always going to be a need for that. And actually, my first $1 million was in real estate, but I don't want to go into that. It's the second thing. But healthcare and technology, those were the needs I figured I wanted to get into. So pick something that you think there's a need. Is always a good thing, right? And so I started a private equity company called KSE Ventures, 2005. And I said, what I want to do with this company is help people like me with ideas. I want to invest in them. and I want to go in, get companies and turn them around, and I want to build my own company. So KIC Ventures was a decision that if you're going to look at the decision tree after you leave here, there are a couple of things, buckets. The first is, how are you going to get money? Anything you're going to do, you got to list that. All my sources of how I'm going to get money. Then you're going to have another bucket that says, when I use that money, how do I build value? So now you build value in something. And you build value because value, you can then take money out of that and keep going. So when I did real estate in the beginning, you buy a property, you fix it up by spending some money on it, you build value, then you take out a, what? Equity loan, and go buy another one, right? So you need to know that. You have to actually write those things down. So I figured if I started a venture capital company, I'm going to raise money, I'm going to use it to buy companies, I'm going to value the company, I'm going to take money out of that and get other companies, right? And that's why I chose to do that. And that's what I'm doing even today. If you look at some of the portfolio we have right there, very cool stuff. Sense Driver Technologies, heads-up display, brand new. We're at the forefront of that. We're working on it now. Les Institute Online, that's to take care of patients online, like WebMD and health grades and ZocDoc and all that. We're integrating patient care. We believe that when this is released next year, over 75% of your patient-doctor encounters, you don't need to go sit in an office and talk to a doctor. You don't need to wait for 2 months. You're going to be able to go online into our software, put whatever your symptoms are, and by the time you're done, and also talk to a doctor, you don't need to go to the clinic. So you're going to see that coming. We just acquired a company called Axiomed. Last Friday, closed the deal. I flew out to Cleveland on Monday, met the staff, the CEO, and all that. This company had $70 million in VC funding. Developed a cervical and a lumbar total disc. Blew through that money, and the bank took it over. So I went in and we bought that company. And so I met with CEO and everyone else. And when I went on Monday and I got there, everyone was sitting there. They had presentation, everything planned out, to explain to me that, hey, if we only had some more money, everything's great here. It's all cool, right? You blew through $7 million. Now, when you grow up poor like me, you learn that when you have too much money, in Jamaica said, if dog got too much money, buy cheese. Right? Because everyone is wishing for money. That's not what you need to wish for. You know, life's a journey you're experiencing every day. Wish for some of the things I talked about. Independence, having a desire, you're satisfying a need, and money makes all that possible. Because when you have money and you don't understand what you're trying to do, you do something. I blew through $7 million, now the company is bankrupt. I come in, and you just lost your job. SpineFrontier, we started a company in 2006. That company makes medical devices for spine surgery. The company is doing really, really well. We're looking to bring that company into the Frankfurt Stock Exchange next year, and then see how it goes, and then maybe back to the US, and then have that maybe 2017 or so. So we're satisfying a need. But here's what's happening to me as I get older, that you kids may not see yet, but you want to start soon. What does it say here? Which one of you guys can read what it says next to the clock? Can I pick someone? You're squinting already? What are you, guys? I'm catching. Who's going to read that?
One next to the block.
Yes, it starts with live. Can you read it loud enough for us to hear? You want the mic? Hold on. Who's going to do it?
Can I step up?
Yeah.
Life teaches us to make good use of time, while time teaches us the value of life.
You understand that?
I'm being honest right here. It's okay. Thank you. Thanks for reading that.
I honestly could not see that one.
Time is the great equalizer. I don't care who you are. Time. We all have that. God gave us that. Now, God also gave one person 5 talents and one person 1. Took the 1 and gave it to the guy with the 5. It's not where you start. It's a journey. It's, your time. It's not money that's the most valuable, it's your time. Those guys in Cleveland, sure, they run out of money, but they've been at it since 2000. The VCs just had enough. You have 13 years. When am I going to get my return on my investment? I'm not saying what you're developing is not going to be good. We put $7 million in it. But dude, I don't have all the time. They ran out of time. They felt they ran out of money. When I explained to them that there was an iPhone 6 for a reason, before they understood it. When I explained to them that in 2005, they could have released a disc a long time ago, they told me, our disc is the best. We just felt we could always make it better. That's true. It's a journey. Released the disc in 2005, and today you'll be, that's a Freedom Disc 6. You'd have a company. Time is what you have. Anyhow you spend your time, kids, it's your money. If you spend it studying, you're investing in the bank. If you spend it playing, you're dealing with wellness, your mind, your body, and all that. Always think about every moment that you're spending, because that time you're using it up. You actually have it, but you don't know where to run out. I don't want to be too somber, but I really feel like I want to honor her because she was one of my best employees. I gave this talk to my team on a Friday about time. And I got a message, I think on a Saturday, that one of my best employees was riding on the bike of her boyfriend, no helmet, and died at a traffic light, young. Okay? If we all knew how much time we had, we would change our life immediately. Why not just assume that you don't have much? You can't waste it. Everyone knows this, but do you live it? I tell you, I live it. But this is not just about business. Business is also part of your life. Business living. So I attack business. You may spend more time at Nova than you do at home. So I treat my business like it's because it's my life. I live there. I enjoy it. It's part of it. And people say, man, you're so intense at work, How do you feel about family? Guess what? I do the same. My time with my kids and all those things, I approach it the same. Time, spending with your families, but the same thing at business. One time clock. It's not bucket. Oh, when I go to business, I'm this way. When I go home, no, it's the same. It's important to remember that. Now, let's say you've done all that, and now you start a company, right? Now you have the company. What are you going to do? So now I'm the CEO of the company. I work for myself. Well, some people go off on that. Well, the company is just registered in the Delaware. It's a name. It's a piece of paper. The company is really the people. People forget that. So you're not going to, because you want to build a team of people that you can work with. Don't build a team based on CV. Of course, you get on the CV. But you got to be able to work with the people. You have to be able to, have a team that's actually going to work. Well, Kingsley, what about you're trying to get a winning team. Now, winning is the result. Get a working team. So I'll hire the Fastest I've fired someone is 9 days. Right? And it's a reflection of me, so I'm trying to get better at that. But we're trying to, get a working team at all times. And the winning, we pursue that. Be among your team as well. Okay, it's not, hey, I'm the CEO, and these are great graphics, because my team put this presentation together, by the way. I don't have an office. I have no office anywhere. My executive assistant's right here. She doesn't have an office either. I don't have an office. In Boston, where headquarters SpineFrontier, we have 18,000 square foot. It's beautiful. View of everything. The corner office, my president has it. He deserves it better than me. When I go, I sit next to everyone. Where we're working, I talk about this. And I love to stand up. So chalkboarding is what I like to do. Be among people. I was too poor to sit in a corner office and idolize myself. It's not an indictment of anyone with an office here, just it's my perspective. Because here's the thing. You have an office, you're a great guy, you mean well. You have an open door policy. But it still has 4 walls. Because the people outside, they don't really truly believe that. Hey, I'm a CEO, I have an open door policy, come in anytime you want. Now, when you don't have an office, then it forces you to kind of do all that. And because you're big on your time, whenever you enter the door of your office, and because it's part of your life, you can't just be sitting around, I don't believe. You can't afford that time. Spend 2 hours in the office and go do something else. Because if you spend all day being a CEO, being a leader, and you can't account for every second, every minute, then I'm going to come in and take over your company. Because the CEO sets the tone. And if you think you can rest on the job, yeah, you can, but you can do better. And so if you approach it with that intensity, it's more fun. But who doesn't like to stay, relax, and enjoy life along the way? Well, enjoy doing something with your time. So I have no office. This is a good one. I got this from someone, and I really like it. Because every time I think I'm getting, too rigid, I think I'm getting too exalted, every time I think, I have the answer, I remind myself that in that moment, I am being a mountain, which means, hey, stuff is running off me, I'm not getting anything. So if you can leave it one thing, because at the end of the day, I think humility is a great gift. And if you have that, everything is possible, because now you're receiving stuff. You may not have the answer, but if you're not humble and you're not open, you're going to miss the answer. And if you think you have the answer, well, as soon as you get old enough and you look around and all the young people running around, like, holy cow, man, the world is better because these young kids actually make it a lot better. They don't think like me. We all get our chance. So be a valley, None of that. Now, so now you have a working team. You don't have an office anymore. You're working among the people in your company. I say to everyone who's working with me, there are no jobs when you work with me. No jobs. If you think you have a job with me, you're going to lose it. You're working with me. We're working together. There's no jobs here. You get paid because you need to get paid so you can make a living. There are no jobs. You work with me, you got to be working to do things. You don't have a job. And so we're going to choose to succeed. It is not something that just happens because you're in a great company or you got a great university and people are working hard. You have to make a choice. Sharks want to succeed. The Miami Heat want to succeed. So they went out and bought the right people, getting to work together. Went to the championship 4 times. Right? Now, I just read an article last night, LeBron James, last 2 games, he starts saying, well, the attitude and all those stuff. Well, you have to choose to succeed. He's right. You may have the best people in the world, but if you haven't made that choice to succeed and a lot of other things, it starts right there. Now here's what happened, which is interesting. No one disagrees with that. But there's a fear of success because it seems like hard work. You know, sustainable work. It's an everyday thing. Here you listen to me talking about all these things. You know, you're thinking, man, Dr. Chen, you're talking about perspective of success. It sounds like you're talking about a lot of work and a lot of things you got to deal with. No, it's choosing to succeed. Once you choose to succeed, then you have to figure it out, right? And a lot of people are fearful of what people think. And so, you know, you want to choose to succeed, but you're also worried about what people think. And it affects a lot of things about what you're going to do, right? What if I fail, you know? I need to do this. I need to go work like Kingsley did and as a kid when I go to college, washing dishes in the back room. I have a story for you about that actually. I'm almost done. So I'm washing dishes and I gotta wear the blue thing and a white hat, right? And I go to class and I just got to Columbia and I saw this girl. I thought she was really fine, right? I mean, you know, come on, I'm a guy. You gotta start there. I'm coming from Jamaica. We got a reputation. So, you know, I finally worked up the courage and I said, you know, how you doing? Let's go to a movie. And she agreed to it. I'm like, wow, it's kind of cool, right? So then, you know, I'm in the cafeteria busting the table and I saw her and her girlfriend sitting on the corner, you know. It's a fine, light-skinned black woman and a couple other black women there sitting around. And I'm like, I'm excited about the movie tonight. So I went over there and like, trying to talk to her and I introduced myself as being a nice guy. We're from Jamaica, we're nice people, you know. And she just was a little standoff. I'm like, what's going on? So I'm all excited. And I'm like, all right, see you later tonight, right? Next thing I know, stop, return my calls. And there it is. And we realized the true situation. You know, I wasn't so hot with the white hat and the blue suit on, busting the table. I just made her look bad in front of her girls. But, you know, Pastor Roberts, what happened was this season started and I was on the front page. I wasn't wanting for movies after that. So, all right, kids, work up your game. You all right? So, you got 2 slides there. So, when you choose to succeed, what happens sometimes is we hate the objects of success. Oh man, I don't need no private plane. I'm okay in coach. Man, I don't need no mansion on the water. I'm all right here. I don't need to go to a fine restaurant. I'm okay just going to McDonald's every day. You know, oh, rich people are unhappy. You hear it all the time. Hating the objects of success to justify yourself. You don't need that. Because these people are enjoying themselves and you're hating. Emulate. It's not the object that you need to emulate though. It's the lifestyle. Okay? Because it's good to reward yourself after you've done all this stuff I'm saying here. Enjoy life. It's okay to enjoy the genius of a Picasso. Okay? It's okay to enjoy a beautiful restaurant because those guys are sweating in the back to make you enjoy their work of art. It's okay to enjoy a nice, beautiful car that the guys in Italy or whatever handmade. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not the objects, it's the lifestyle as a human being that you can reward yourself. And it's okay. Any situation you're in, enjoy the lifestyle that you want to choose to live. Whatever it is. But don't hate the objects of success. So I'm going to leave you with this, that when you do all this and you succeed, you're lucky enough they invite you to talk to someone else. And you hope that your success inspires someone else. Thank you very much.
have many of them, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Myself, I'm a professor of biology in College of Hospitality Medicine and College of Medical Science. I'm an internist, I'm a lawyer, I have a PhD in forensic medicine and a master's in medical ethics. So my question is very simple. Do you think that there is a gene for success?
That's a really tough one. Is there a gene for success? Well, you know, there may be, but I don't think there's a gene that guarantees success. And so, I do believe that there are things greater than us that we can't explain, and I'm aware of that. And there's people who just have something inside of them. It's a fire that's burning, right? And I think those people are really blessed. But Pastor Robert, like I said, you know, God gives you 5 of those, or 1 of them. You know, you got to do something with them. You got to multiply them. I don't think there's a gene for that. I think attitude and so on are just things that happen around you. And kids, you know, are in a lot of ways on blank slates. What we do around the kids, you know, as you know, there's penetrance of the gene, right? You may have a dream, but it may not penetrate in your generation, right? My mother used to say, if you're in Jamaica, the sins of one generation follow the other, right? So she's always saying, you know, something good must happen because my family was always good. We're just humble. And I'm probably the reason for that. Is that gene or is that just blessing? So science and life and religion, it's really tough. But I do believe that your genes have a lot of signals there. And they may or may not penetrate unless you put it in the right environment, right? A seed. If you throw that on asphalt, that's not going to grow, but it has the ability to grow. So, man, you need to take the mic, because I'm starting to sound like I'm preaching over here.
Well,
I'm sorry, is that answer your question? I don't mean to be flippant.
while you were talking,
Yes.
another question came to my mind. Is more important to have an high IQ, intelligence quotient, or a higher EQ, emotional quotient?
Well, that's a great question. You guys hear IQ or EQ, right? Well, here, you mind if I add another Q in there? The kids are listening?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to have a high AQ, and that's adversity quotient. And that's really the book on that.
Yeah.
My best friend, dad, owned the retail store in Buffet. His mom was the head nurse. They had 2 cars, beautiful house, everything. I remember once I went over there and we were playing around, and you're gonna make a glass of Milo. Now, 1 tin of milk in my house, I won't read that. Anyone understand that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm sitting there with Peter, I'm like, all right, great, let's have some Milo. He had a case of milk. He took one out, half of it went in his glass. I'm looking around like, man, what's the hell? What's going on? Because when I open a tin of milk, you have to put it in water so the ants don't go in there after 1 week. I have to add sugar to that. No, he was my best friend. Bottom line is, 5 brothers and me, we were best friends. And I look at those guys today, still great guys, but they've been struggling.
Yeah.
Their entire life. All. And here am I in front of me. The adversity quotient, right, that you are up against is going to propel you further than your IQ. Now, your environment that you're in, you need that as well. See, if you have a high IQ and you're in an environment that fosters that, otherwise you're going to be a serial killer and do crazy stuff with that IQ and sell drugs and some crazy thing. You're going to be smart, but you're going to be in prison. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and now because you know, like to talk and formulate a different way of putting this, what is more important, nature or nurture for success?
I think I gotta go with nurture. Moms are really important here. Okay, and just because you're a mother doesn't mean that you're always gonna be right. You need to go to church. You need to get yourself together as a mom. But your mom has a lot of influence on what happens to you. I really believe that. The guys who are successful I know, you know, but I think as a father, you can have profound effect on your kids. The fathers are really important. I didn't see my dad till I was 27. But my mom and people around me, I used to play football, all the dreadlocks, sit down, I'm listening to wisdom. So like I picked up dads from everyone. So dads are crucial. But mom, you know, nurturing. That is important early on. I can see a kid in the mall and have a sense of how nurtured mom is. Every mom loves their kids. But sometimes you're shouting it, the way you do all that, you may not know, but that affects the kid, right? So you gotta nurture our kids. Sorry. Can I have you come help me with pick out who?
I don't want to steal the show. You and then the student here? Yes.
Good morning.
Yes.
Quick question, and a comment to it. The conversation in South Florida in particular is this massive build out of the technology ecosystem.
Yes.
So I want to get your take, and do you also look into doing business with startup technology companies, number one? Number two, the conversation is also about diversity as it builds out, as with everywhere else.
Yeah.
What is your take on what seems to be a lack of venture capitalist, African American venture capitalist companies that will be able to really funnel the pipeline for these companies as well? Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, so Florida definitely has a reputation as just a destination place, Disneyland and fun and sea and all that stuff. But in the scripts, it came from San Diego, up in Jupiter. You know, Arthrex is over there in Naples, just in medicine. So, you know, I'm boggled by that because it's a great place to live. I think it's the best place, you know, to live. And so, and that's where the kids come in. Over time, I expect to see more companies invest in technology. As far as KIC Ventures, we're a venture company, you know, and so we're investing in startups. And we're very strong in helping people with ideas to get support for it. We have a lot of stuff we're working on. You know, we have a program, the guys have a program called Elevate. We're going to be at a Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas with our Health Tech Ventures Network Conference. We founded that. I'm meeting with the Dean, Dean Roberts of Harvard Medical School to talk about that, I think, in a week or two. You know, how does Harvard Medical School get into technology rather than just be a building stationary? So the technology discussion is going to heat up very strongly, and the rest of the world, you know, is recognizing that. India right now basically could outsource labor and technology, you know, especially technology expertise to the world, because they invested in that. And Singapore and China, the U.S. is bogged down by politics in a lot of ways, and the U.S. system is great, but it also eats its young. It's set up so that for you to succeed, you have to go through so much that when you make it here, you usually make it so big that you're disconnected from everyone else, right? And right before you go to your grave, you start giving away money in philanthropy, which is good. But those guys have a lot of money to put back into entrepreneurship, and they're not doing it because the system is really geared towards you finding a way on your own to make it. And it selects for guys who can find a way. It doesn't really nurture technology in this country as well. I mean, and that's just what it is. But we are changing that. We want a KIC Ventures office in every major city. We want to be helping and be accessible to great ideas. It makes sense. And we have to compete now on a global scale. Does that answer the question?
Pretty much.
Thanks.
When you were talking about plan for Is Nova a good place to start?
Absolutely.
No, I want to get back to that, okay? Because the first thing you got to do, I think you remember, what was the first thing I said you got to do?
Plan for success?
Recognize your true situation.
You got to recognize your true situation. It has nothing to do with Nova. You have to look at home and everything around you. Because Nova is what it is. But it's you. You carry you here and here. You got to remember that. You got to recognize what your deal is. And then focus on that. If you're lucky enough to be able to get into Nova or any university, what did I say about that? What did I say about that? Take full advantage of opportunity, whatever that is. Okay? You're too young right now to be figuring out what's just, hey, you're here today, hopefully you learned something. So, Jade, I guess the presentation is going to be available, right? Okay, let me help you. When you're done, and you've been taking notes, find a way to get back at this and see if you can go back to it on your own and see if any of this stuff really gel. Because you're young, focus on you right now. Go ahead.
My name is Khadija. I'm sport and recreation manager in Caribbean.
Good.
My question is, like you were talking about earlier about like your sport and career when you were at university, and you said that you didn't care about awards, about people you cared about women, and I think like whatever you sport or because like what you do in life, if you don't care about awards and women, like why do you want to do so much?
Yeah, I really, awards, I'm just not into that, but because it's about humility. And awards, the people who are giving awards mean well, but it puts you in a position, you know, when you get an award, how to handle that. And so I try not to think about that. But winning is also something that I truly don't think about as much. Nowadays, I think about how I can, you know, set goals and how we can put a team together and how we can achieve the goals. Because I'm really not competing against anyone anymore. You know, I'm really just, you're just trying to get to somewhere. You're trying to kind of just get something done. So, you know, it's not about winning means that someone is losing. And so I didn't say pick a winning team, just put a working team. So for you, just figure out what it is you want to do. And on this journey, just try and manage that, right? And does that answer it? Yeah. Take care of business. You're okay. Don't worry about winning.
Thank you for that speech, Doctor.
Hey, welcome.
My name is Carl, and I'm playing soccer here at the university.
Great.
And you were talking about the importance of staying humble. And looking back at your career, was it ever hard for you to be humble?
No, because I did what he's going to do. I knew my true situation. Even today, sitting here, my mom's name is not here, but she's in that small house in Buff Bay right now. I said, Mom, can I buy a bigger house? No, because I'm going to know nobody on the hill.
We might need to interpret that for you. It's so good.
No, my mom just doesn't want to leave. I mean, we're thinking of buying a house, beautiful view of these things and all that stuff. Because when I go home now, I go to the university and I do surgery, I make friends there, I go play golf and all those things. So my life is so different. It's a little inconvenient for me to go to Buff Bay and to get guilty. So I said, Mom, I buy a big house for you. No, she doesn't want that. Her house is pimped out in her neighborhood. She's the only one with a generator. She has AC in every room. Hurricane, everybody come to our house and cook food and everything. She don't give that up for no money.
Hello, Dr. Chen. My name is
Yes.
Christine. I'm from Casey, Canada, with American Family Therapy Program here.
Yes.
And yes, Nova's a great place to succeed. I would say, yeah. My question is in regards to the human connection and connection with technology.
Yes.
You stated that you're going to roll out in 2015 a program software regarding connecting you to your doctor
Yes.
in that infrastructure. So my question, how do you maintain the human connection, or how would you continue to implement the human connection, especially when you're having a hard diagnosis?
Yes. Well, you know, sometimes I would have patients where I'm talking, and I don't think I have any today. I think in my practice, I have about 40 or so, 40-something people regularly because I've gotten so busy. At the end of the day, there's a customer, client, or a patient, and there's a product. So what I offer people, compassion and the knowledge that I got from medicine, but I have to connect with them. And so with everything around me, the office and everything beautiful there, when I close the door, it's one-on-one, right? The same way I'm talking to you right now, I hope you can see that who I am. I'm wide open. When I'm with my patients, especially Jamaican, you know, I'm gonna hug and kiss and talk Jamaican because that's what it is. You know, if I'm with an Hispanic patient, I bring someone in who speaks that, so I'm trying to figure out how to connect at all times. The technology is going to reflect that, because if you're a heart and soul, it needs to be reflected in your product, in business. It really is. You know, I took out the team to a dinner at one of the top restaurants in South Beach 2 nights ago, and I told them something. I said, you know, look at all these guys, how hard they work. It's 11:30, right? These guys, every meal. These guys, when they're down here tonight, they go home, they're totally wiped out. And I said, you know, I know the owner, and since I came down here in 2007, I used to go there. He would be there every night, all night. Hey, come over, talk to you, especially if he's seen you a couple of times. That kind of stuff, no wonder, you know, I have 3 or 4 restaurants. I don't know how much business school, you know, will really emphasize what you just asked. It's in your heart and soul and who you are should be in your product, whatever that is. Right?
Just have 2 more questions. Here's a couple of Morning, Doctor.
Yeah.
My name is Steve Royce. I'm an MBA student here. Leaving Wall Street was kind of your defining moment. And I imagine you have financial stability. And I imagine people probably said you were crazy for leaving Wall Street. What gave you the courage to leave Wall Street and go out into the world of the unknown?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think what I'm hoping you're going to take out of this is that if you go back at my talk, as you look at it, you know, it's a journey, right? But I started with recognizing your true self. So I recognize that. If you know what your situation is, and you choose to be in there, that's not a good idea, unless it's the right place that you feel it need to be. So I was there, and I didn't feel like this was the right place. So it was easy. It started there. But I also had to do some planning. Okay, what am I going to do? I know this is not where I need to be. So I started planning. And that planning, for me, was, well, let's assume I stay here, right? Let's figure out if I can paint a picture and visualize what that could be. And I just, you know, thought, even if I did the best and made it to be a partner, it may take me 10, 15 years, right? But I could come to work one day and, you know, I'm out of a job. So at that point, I decided what I need to do right now is, why don't I find something that's going to give me financial security? At that moment, that could have been a lot of things. But I chose medicine because I felt, for me, I would be perfectly happy if I were a doctor for the rest of my life with some security. That was good. And then after that, I said, okay, if I do that, how do I become a player like some of these guys? How do I come back with the game? And so that may be some of the athletic thing. I didn't want to win. I don't want to be better than any of these guys. I just want to be a player. I want to be part of it. I want to employ people. So that list, which is in this talk, maybe you can look at that and figure out your situation. But you got to start with recognizing what it is for what it is. Right? It is what it is. Recognize it, either accept it or change it.
Hi, my name is Isabel, and I was a student here, and I graduated sorry, I'm so nervous. I was a pre-med student, I graduated in biology, and now I'm applying to medical school. So I have a similar question to how the transition was from business to medical school, but how difficult was it to get into Harvard Medical School? Because I'm applying right now to so many different schools, and it's so nerve-wracking to wait and not to be sure whether or not, the wait is just super long, it's a year, so.
Yeah, well, I wish you the best, and you're gonna be fine. You just need to get to a medical school right now. Don't worry about the name of it, really. You wanna be a doctor, be a doctor, because when you get out here, if you have all the PhDs on the wall, and you can't get along with people, I'm sorry for you, guys, nobody not come see you. Yeah. So, but let me get back to that, okay? This is a good example. The planning and the preparation, when it's time for game time, it just happens, right? And so let's say if I had known you, say, a year or two ago, I could then sit down with you and kind of help you plan that. But right now, you're gonna get into medical school, and then hopefully what I'm telling you right now, for the next level, you wanna be preparing for that in advance, right? With that plan. Visualize what are the different scenarios. And so, I actually got into every medical school I applied to, right? I mean, Harvard, Yale, name it. But here's the deal though. If you look at my CV up to that point, I'm senior class president, why not? I was Ivy League Player of the Year, I have a degree in, maths and electrical engineering, great schools. Then I went and I spent 3 years in business, right? I'm a black guy from Jamaica. All those things, for say Harvard was very interesting, right? And so if you're an interesting person, a lot of things start to happen for you. So build that, okay? There's nothing wrong with just having a 4.0 and nothing else, but you could do more in your life. And people are interested in people who are interesting. And I can tell already you're interested, you're here, you're gonna get into school, but for the next level, prepare, understand it, so that when it comes time for someone to make a decision on you, you're ready.
I don't want you to stop, but I'd like for you to introduce your team, because, would you please introduce your team? And your fiance?
Okay. That's Vanessa, my fiance, and she actually works with me.
Please stand.
She does a lot of my business. We're a team. I encourage that if anyone who's not married yet, that choose a partner, not who's the most hot, but if you're lucky, you can go.
Very nice. Dr. Chen also.
Where's my team?
There's a team here.
Yes. Samantha. I have a team that I call my special projects team. And they're down here in Florida. We have several other people who are down here in Florida as well, working on other things. When I can't travel, they travel to me. Nick heads up that. But the special projects team, as soon as we have an idea that we can pursue, they really wrap themselves around it. We introduced this new concept of treat your business like it's a human body. And Nova, please give me credit if you use that. Treat your business like a human body, right? Figure out who will be in the brains, who are the fingers, the feet. We have that idea. They are the brains. We have an idea, we flush it out, we look at all the resources we're going to need, we develop that. And so Nick heads that up. Samantha, right now, we're working on a bunch of books. Some of this stuff we're talking here, we felt, how do we get you to have something? We felt it's a duty to write some books, so she's writing those. Right, Nick heads that up. All right, we have Brianna. Brianna is amazing. She and I share working in New York and leaving, feeling like, we're not coming back until we've made it. So she heads up the graphic stuff, phenomenal. Right, and we have Sarah. She's my executive clinical assistant. Thank you for asking, giving us a lot.
Thank you. And on behalf of the faculty, my faculty colleagues who are here, please stand. The students, honored guests, I see Juliet Rolek from Florida Power and Light there. She's also an Island girl. And the entire institute and Izinga School family would like to thank you for this inspirational talk And you've given a new meaning to the term that I like, you can use this, is that humility is power. From Harvard and Columbia, but today you're honorary shark. All right. And we'd like to present this to you, Doctor. On behalf of all of us, you honor us by being here. We're going to invite you back time and time again if you're able to do so. Thank you. That concludes our presentation, and you please feel free to come up and mob the doctor. Have a great day. Thank you.